I'm Adrian Seet, and this is Nightline, the top stories. Cabinet reshuffle slated for Tuesday. And Zain Ryan's murder. Cops believe only one person involved. Thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim is set to announce his new cabinet lineup on Tuesday. The swearing-in ceremony for ministers involved in the reshuffle is slated to take place at Istana Negara at 2:30 p.m. The agenda is included in the coverage schedule released by Istana Negara to official media. Several media outlets citing sources have indicated that the reshuffle is expected to witness changes of ministers and deputy ministers in several ministries. This could see the return of several senior MPs who had previously served as ministers, while a few MPs may have to make their way as debut as ministers. Currently, the Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Minister's post has been left vacant following the death of Datuk Sri Salahuddin Ayub on July 23rd. The current cabinet lineup under the unity government has 28 ministers and 27 deputy ministers. Ahead of the new year, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim wants civil servants to continue with their outstanding service next year by adopting good values within the administration. He reminded all civil servants to not be complacent and to always strive for excellence. In a speech during the monthly assembly of the Prime Minister's department on Monday morning, Anwar said everyone, including himself, must believe that they could always do better in their work. He added that it was crucial to always find ways to improve on weaknesses, reiterating that in politics and in public service, it is imperative to adopt a culture of listening to criticisms and constructive views.
Saya yakin sangat. Ini bukan soal pelaburan saja, bukan soal keyakinan negara luar saja, tetapi tentang kapasiti kita untuk mengangkat keupayaan ekonomi, sosial dan sebagainya.
Anwar said that as the country strives to reach for the sky in terms of advancement in several new fields such as artificial intelligence, digital and new energy, civil servants must use the basis of religion, morals, culture and values to stay firmly rooted to the ground. Meanwhile, Anwar said politicians, especially members of parliament, should take a cue from the public on how to be polite. He said although the people might ask critical questions, they did so in a polite manner.
Kalau ikut budaya masyarakat kita, orang umumnya bertanya, kadang-kadang soalannya agak kritikal, tetapi sopan. Kerana soal nilai dan akhlak itu dipertahankan. Sebab itu saya kata kadang-kadang ahli parlimen harus belajar daripada rakyat tentang apa arti sopan, apa arti soalan yang menetapkan soal akhlak dan nilai. Kadang-kadang dengan sedikit kuasa dan media sosial yang akan mempromosikan ucapan-ucapan mereka itu juga keterlaluan.
Anwar was referring to the dialogue session of the Madani government's one-year anniversary program in Bukit Jalil National Stadium on Sunday. He also applauded the open dialogue concept that provides an opportunity for the people to express their views and to ask questions to the country's leadership without censorship. The initiative would be a positive way in shaping a meaningful democracy. Tan Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar reminded cabinet members to respect the parliamentary institution by attending to question and answer sessions within their respective ministries. The Dewan Negara President said as the upper house of parliament, the Senate's sanctity must be respected and the presence of ministers are important to clarify matters raised by members of the Senate.
Saya memperingatkanlah. Tolonglah menteri datang. Kalau yang amat berhormat Perdana Menteri boleh datang, yang amat berhormat Timbalan Perdana Menteri boleh datang, takkan menteri memikirkan tempat ni rendah sangat untuk menteri datang. Ini di upper house of parliament yang berhormat.
He said this when Deputy Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture Khairul Firdaus Akbar Khan was answering questions in the Dewan Negara on Monday. Earlier, Senator Amir Mat Ghazali in his supplementary question wanted some clarification on the position of the Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister, Dato Sri Tiong King Sing, who he claimed had not attended question and answer proceedings in the last 8 months. Wan Junaidi also reproached Khairul Firdaus, whom he said was not providing the specific answers required to matters raised to the ministry. Bukit Gantang Member of Parliament Datuk Syed Abu Hussein Hafiz Syed Abdul Fasal has claimed that about 7 or 8 MPs from Perikatan Nasional from several states will express their support for Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim soon. However, he refused to reveal the identity of the MPs involved and whether they were from PAS or Bersatu.
Dulu saya kata ada 5-6 orang. Sekarang ni ada 7-8 orang. Tapi nama saya tak boleh maklumkan di sini. Tunggu masa dan lihat akan ada pengumuman mereka yang akan menyokong kerajaan Madani. Dalam masa terdekat? Ya, insya-Allah dalam masa terdekat.
Meanwhile, Syed Abu Hussein said Bersatu had not taken any action against him and he is still a member of the party. On November the 28th, Syed Abu Hussein became the 5th and latest MP from Bersatu to switch allegiance to the government to date. Prior to this, 4 Bersatu MPs shifted their support to Anwar's leadership. They are Kuala Kangsar MP Dato' Iskandar Zulkarnain Abdul Khalid, Labuan MP Dato' Suhaili Abdul Rahman, Gomusang MP Muhammad Azizi Abu Naim, and Jeli MP Zahari Kecik. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah officiated the installation of the first track for the East Coast Rail Link ECRL project in Kuantan on Monday. The inauguration is the key starting point for the installation of the 94-kilometre track from the Kuantan Port City Station KPC in Gebeng to Dungun, Terengganu that is expected to take about 3 to 4 months to complete. His Majesty was accompanied by the Raja Permaisuri Agong, Tunku Aziza Amina Maimuna Iskandaria, at the ceremony, which was held at Section 10 ECRL station site in Gebeng. The next track installation will involve the KPC station to Temerloh and heading northward from Dungun to Kota Baru, Kelantan, before the final one from Temerloh to Jalan Kastam in Selangor. The installation process uses the latest equipment to ensure a solid foundation in addition to reducing vibration when the train is moving for the comfort of passengers. The equipment can also enable the track installation to proceed at a rate of 1.5 kilometers to 2.5 kilometers per day, which is a significant increase compared to the conventional method, which is at a rate of between 500 meters to 700 meters a day. The mega project, which was inaugurated on August 9, 2017, at an estimated cost of 50 billion ringgit, is scheduled to start operating in January of 2027, with the passenger trains travelling at a speed of 160 kilometers per hour and the freight trains at 80 kilometers per hour.
Dia orang campak adik saya dalam sungai tu, dia orang nampak adik saya menggelupur dalam tilam tu.
Hukuman gantung sampai mati dikenakan terhadap tertuduh kes bunuh sedangkan mayat mangsa tidak dijumpai.
Kat situlah saya baru perasan yang arwah ni diperangkap.
Memang tak ada. Adik saya dah tak ada di dunia ni. Tapi dia orang cuma dapat hukuman sebanyak 7 tahun.
The Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Aziza Amina Maimuna Iskandaria headed the list of 97 recipients of state honours in conjunction with the 78th birthday of the Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah, on Monday. Tunku Aziza was conferred the darjah kerabat yang amat dihormati. The investiture ceremony held at Istana Alam Shah was also graced by Tengku Permaisuri Selangor, Tengku Permaisuri Nora Shekin, Raja Muda Selangor Tengku Amir Shah Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah, and other members of the royal family. A member of the Selangor Royal Council, Tengku Datuk Setia Putra Al-Haj, Tengku Azman Shah Al-Haj, received the darjah kerabat Selangor yang amat dihormati. Chief of Defence Force General Tan Sri Muhammad Abdul Rahman and Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussein were recipients of the Darjah Kebesaran Sri Paduka Mahkota Selangor that carries the title Datuk Sri. There were 9 recipients of the Darjah Kebesaran Datuk Paduka Mahkota Selangor Award that carries the title of Datuk for Men and Datin Paduka for Women, including Selangor Police Chief Datuk Hussein Omar Khan, Court of Appeal Judge Datuk Colin Lawrence Sequeira, and Selangor Local Government and Tourism Committee Chairman Eng Su Lim. A total of 13 individuals receive the Darjah Kebesaran Datuk Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah Award that carries the title of Datuk for Men and Datin Paduka for Women. That included the Selangor Road Transport Department Deputy Director Ahmad Kamarun Zaman Mehat and the Department of Islamic Development Malaysia Director General Datuk Hakimah Muhammad Yusof. The police believe that only one individual was involved in the murder of the 6-year-old autistic boy Zain Rayyan Abdul Matin last week. Selangor Police Chief Datuk Hussein Omar Khan said the scenario was based on leads found so far that included the strangulation marks and signs of struggle found on the boy's body.
Kita percaya seorang individu lah. Kita dah tengok semua angle and kita dah tengok semua database polis dan juga mass screening lah. Kita harap in somewhere kita boleh dapat petunjuk yang positif.
He urged the public to refrain from speculations and to give the police space to focus on their investigation based on the facts of the case. In the meantime, Hussein said that the police are still scrutinizing the dashcam recordings obtained from several apartment residents. Regarding the police investigations on a storage facility located about 50 meters from Block R, apartment Idaman on Sunday, Hussein said the inspections aim to check for fingerprints to identify individuals who are frequently present at that location, as well as to investigate the possibility that the offender had been there previously. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has expressed regret and disappointment over the United States' use of its veto power to reject the United Nations Security Council draft resolution urging a ceasefire between the Israeli regime and Palestine. Controller of the Royal Household of Istana Negara, Major General Dato' Zahari Muhammad Arifin, said that the veto by the United States had thwarted UNSC's efforts in finding a resolution to the conflict. The conflict has so far claimed the lives of over 17,000 Palestinians, with approximately 70% of them children and women, while more than 48,000 others have been injured. In a statement on Monday, he said the action seems to legitimize the brutality of the Zionist Israeli regime against the Palestinian people, with the killing of more civilians and the destruction of property, general facilities and medical facilities in Gaza. He said His Majesty also expressed support for the government's stance through statements from the Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim and the Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zamri Abdul Kadir in protest and condemnation of US action against the resolution, calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in the Gaza Strip that was put forward by the United Arab Emirates. Zahari said all mosques and surahs in the country were also encouraged to organize the Solat Hajat and Doa Salamat to pray for the well-being of the people of Palestine. As the Zionist regime continues to bombard southern Gaza, its ground are now focusing fire on refugee camps in the center of the enclave after Tel Aviv warned that the war may drag on for some time. Now, Zionist airstrikes hammered at the southern cities of Khan Yunis and Rafah on Monday morning, offering Palestinians no respite from violence. Meanwhile, in central Gaza, tank shelling resumed on the Bijurich and Maghazi refugee camps following overnight strikes that produced numerous casualties. The latest strikes come as those fleeing violence cram into a tiny pocket of southern Gaza with scarce food, water and medicine. Their plight is unlikely to improve in the near future as Israel's National Security Advisor Zachi Hanegbi said that the war may have to be measured in months. Philippines summons Chinese envoy over South China Sea confrontations. News from the foreign front when we return.
Jangan pandang ringan dan mudah. Anggap batuk awak ini serius. Woods ubat batuk dengan rasa pudina. Memberi sensasi kelegaan di kerongkong. Berkesan melegakan batuk. Woods ubat batuk yang saya percaya.
Kanta lekap tiruan dijual secara terbuka.
Dijual dengan harga 88. Kalau harga asal dalam 30. Lepas tu banyak sangat kat pasar-pasar malam banyak sekarang budak-budak pakai.
Jaminan palsu peruncit jerat pengguna.
Memang ada kesan negatif kepada pengguna yang menggunakan kanta lekap yang tidak disahkan keselamatan.
Saksikan 999 Selasa jam 9 malam di TV3 dan stream secara HD ditonton.
Dia orang campak adik saya dalam sungai tu. Dia orang nampak adik saya menggelupur dalam tilam tu.
Hukuman gantung sampai mati dikenakan terhadap tertuduh kes bunuh sedangkan mayat mangsa tidak dijumpai.
Kat situlah saya baru perasan yang arwah ni diperangkap.
Memang tak ada. Adik saya dah tak ada di dunia ni. Tapi dia orang cuma dapat hukuman sebanyak 7 tahun.
Welcome back. India's Supreme Court on Monday upheld a 2019 decision by the government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to revoke a special status for the state of Jammu and Kashmir and set a deadline of September 30th next year for state polls to be held. The unanimous order by a panel of 5 judges came in response to more than a dozen petitions challenging the revocation and a subsequent decision to split the region into 2 federally administered territories. It sets the stage for elections in the region, taken in line with a key long-standing promise of Modi's nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party. Challengers maintain that only the Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir could decide on the special status of the scenic mountain region. However, the court said special status was a temporary constitutional provision that could be revoked by Parliament, with orders that the Federal Territory should return to being a state at the earliest opportunity. The Philippines on Monday said it had summoned China's envoy and flagged the possibility of expelling him following the most tense confrontation between the country's vessels in years at Flashpoint Reefs in the disputed South China Sea. Now, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Teresita Daza said that Manila had filed new diplomatic protests over the incidents and declared China's ambassador Huang Xilian as a persona non grata. That was also something which has to be seriously considered. Meanwhile, the incidents in the disputed sea that China claims almost in its entirety drew criticisms from the United States, a close ally of Manila and Europe. The U.S. State Department said China had engaged in reckless maneuvers and called on Beijing to end its dangerous and destabilizing conduct in the sea. China, however, maintains that the Philippines was to blame for the confrontation and that the Philippines' boost and supply boats ignored multiple stern warnings. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Monday apologized to the families who lost loved ones in the COVID-19 pandemic as he opened his evidence to an ongoing public inquiry regarding COVID-19. Sunak said he was deeply sorry about the lives lost and stressed that he wanted to give his evidence to the COVID inquiry in the spirit of constructive candor so that lessons can be learned from when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer. However, he echoed former Prime Minister Boris Johnson in saying the fact that debates raged was not necessarily a bad thing. The Prime Minister is likely to face questions over whether his focus on protecting the economy came at the detriment to public health. Sunak's day-long evidence comes at the same time as the government's controversial new Safety of Rwanda bill is going through its first stages in the House of Commons, where he faces one of his toughest leadership challenges.
As you said, I'm not a prolific, will have been recorded.
Indonesian Defence Minister and presidential hopeful Prabowo Subianto has extended a commanding lead in the polls ahead of February's election with a series of recent surveys showing that the former general has now more than a 20-point lead. The latest poll, released by Kompas on Monday, showed that Prabowo and his running mate, President Joko Widodo's 36-year-old son, Gibran Rakabuming, garnered 39.3% of the vote. The survey placed former Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan as his closest opponent with 16.7%, followed by Ganjar Pranowo with 15.3%. This is the first time a poll has shown Anies surpassing Ganjar and reflects a rising trajectory indicating by other recent polls. The results come just weeks after campaigning officially kicked off and the first presidential debate focused on law, democracy and human rights took place last Tuesday. Young Tigers on course for 9th placing. Sports after this breather.
Tak bosan ke asyik pakai tudung yang sama je sis? Masa ni lah nak beli koleksi tudung label baru. Kolaborasi pertama TV3 dengan Fazura. Memang macam gini ha. Dapatkan semua 10 corak yang cantik lagi memukau di fazura.com sekarang sis. Dari jauh orang dah tanya, awak ni Fazura ke? Gitu. Dan katanya Fazura nak kembali berlakon di kaca TV. Tak sabarnya. Lebih fabulous bersama tudung Fazura dan hanya di TV3.
Dia orang campak adik saya dalam sungai tu. Dia orang nampak adik saya menggelupur dalam tilam tu.
Hukuman gantung sampai mati dikenakan terhadap tertuduh kes bunuh sedangkan mayat mangsa tidak dijumpai.
Kat situlah saya baru perasan yang arwah ni diperangkap.
Memang tak ada. Adik saya dah tak ada di dunia ni. Tapi dia orang cuma dapat hukuman sebanyak 7 tahun.
We're back with sports hockey. Malaysia kept alive their quest to finish 9th in the Junior World Cup after downing Egypt 4-1 in the classification playoffs at the National Hockey Stadium in Bukit Jalil on Monday. The national squad began their match in stunning fashion, going ahead after just 8 minutes through a field goal by Haris Iskandar Osman, before skipper Faris Harizan doubled their lead with a penalty corner goal in the 16th minute. The young Tigers continued to press Egypt and managed to convert 2 more goals through Danish Aiman Khairil Anwar and Che Nur Akirullah Che Kais Ruzi's penalty corners. However, complacency in the last few minutes allowed Egypt's Basel Abdel Munem to net a goal in the 59th minute. Malaysia will face Belgium, who trashed Canada 12-0 in the 9th to 12th placing playoff on Wednesday. On to the German Bundesliga. Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen extended their lead at the top of the Bundesliga after a 1-1 draw away at 3rd place VfB Stuttgart. The hosts, who had a league record equaling 11 shots on target in the first half, broke the deadlock in the 40th minute when Chris Führich tapped in from close range. Leverkusen came out fighting in the second half and did not have to wait long for an equalizer as Florian Wirtz's volley found the back of the net just 2 minutes after the restart. Both teams had their share of chances in the remaining minutes, but had to settle for a 1-1 draw as the final whistle blew. With this draw, Leverkusen remained unbeaten and are now at 36 points, 4 points clear of second place Bayern Munich at the top of the table. After this short break, married couple sentenced to 35 years each for murder. Stay with us.
Kanta lekap tiruan dijual secara terbuka.
Dijual dengan harga 88. Kalau harga asal dalam 30. Lepas tu banyak sekarang kat pasar-pasar malam banyak sekarang budak-budak pakai.
Jaminan palsu peruncit jerat pengguna.
Memang ada kesan negatif kepada pengguna yang menggunakan kanta lekap yang tidak disahkan keselamatan.
Saksikan 999 Selasa jam 9 malam di TV3 dan stream secara HD ditonton.
6 keluarga cemas. 2 varian COVID-19 subsusul Galo dan susulan rusuhan yang berlaku di pinggir kota Paris.
Aliran trafik di beberapa lebuh utama di
Lembaga Urus Air Selangor.
Lelaki berusia 3 tahun.
Di sini semuanya bermula. Detik-detik yang boleh mengubah persepsi dunia dengan wajah dan suara yang baru. Memberi impak yang besar, tidak kira di depan atau di belakang kamera. Medium maklumat utama rakyat Malaysia. Paparan berita dalam dan luar negara yang pantas. Cekap bertindak bila-bila masa di mana jua berada. Padat, telus dan berwibawa. Berita menyeluruh dan pastinya yang terkini. Wajah dan suara baru di Buletin Utama. Pilihan nombor 1 rakyat Malaysia.
Welcome back. An Indonesian couple was sentenced to 35 years in prison each for the murder of their employer in Kulai, Johor 3 years ago. The couple, both aged 23, was sentenced by the Johor Bahru High Court after earlier pleading guilty to murdering their elderly employer at a home in Palm Resort, Senai in 2020. The accused, Bartolomeus Franz Seda, a gardener, and his wife, Ikaila, a domestic helper, had pleaded guilty to the charge on November the 29th. Justice Hakim Abu Bakar Kata said the couple's sentence would run from the date of their arrest and also ordered for Bartolomeus to be given 12 strokes of the cane for the offence. They were charged under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder, that carries a death sentence or a jail term of up to 40 years and 12 strokes of the rotan. Based on investigations and closed-circuit TV footage of the scene, the couple killed the 73-year-old Lau Yen Na by hitting her on the head while she was resting and further beating her to death with a small changkul. They then took the victim's luxury MPV and mobile phone and travelled to Kuala Lumpur to meet a friend in hopes of finding new jobs. The duo were later arrested at a restaurant in Damansara, Petaling Jaya. As we conclude this edition of Nightline, let's take a look at the Cuban chess grandmaster, Omar Emilda, who broke the national record by playing 32 simultaneous time-controlled matches last Saturday. With that, I'm Adrian Seet. Thank you for tuning in and stay safe, Malaysia.